Hi, I'm Carla Cannon, homeschooling mom of 3 kids in Alberta, Canada. I wanted to share with you an inside look and my thoughts on All About Reading Level 2 because I just finished the last lesson today with my daughter and I wanted to share it while it's all fresh in my mind. I'm going to start off by sharing what I love about this program, and then we will jump into an inside look into how it's set up and some of the pages. So, first of all, I love the fact that this is a scripted program. So it gives you, the parent or teacher, exactly what to say in each lesson. And I'm not going to lie, this was something that I was actually hesitant about before I started the program, thinking I'm a teacher, I taught first, second grade, I don't need a scripted program. But I have personally learned so much through this program. The lessons are so well laid out, they're very concise, very clear, and they explain things in a way that will really help your child understand the concept they're getting across. So it helps you be an expert reading instructor even if you have no background in teaching reading. So for me, that's a huge plus. The other thing that flows so nicely from the lessons is how the lessons connect to the student activity book, which we'll look at later, and also how it builds in the readers, the story. So it's structured that typically you do a lesson with your child on a new concept, a new rule, a phoneme, something like that. And then in the following lesson, the next lesson, they get to practice that skill within the context of a story. And the stories are really well done. So I love how there is just very smooth flow between those two things. Next, I really love how it is a multisensory program for your child. So not only are they reading the words, but there are, if you've looked online, there's a link down below at their website. There's a whiteboard with letter tiles that you can get to go along with the program. So it gives your child the opportunity to take letters and build words and manipulate them, so they've got that whole kinesthetic thing going on. If the thought of multiple letter tiles on a whiteboard with pieces that you could lose doesn't fit you, I was overwhelmed by that. They also have an app, which I love. So we use the app on my iPad, and my daughter was able to build words and manipulate the letters from there. So it was the same reward without the possibility of losing things. So I really liked that. And also within that is they give visual cues, little pictures to help your child remember important rules that they're learning. Not for every rule, but for lots of them. So, for example, this would be like what you would use on the whiteboard, and then it's in the app as well. So if they're learning about open syllables or closed syllables, there's the little, they can label those with the little door, or vowel teams, bossy R. It's great. And so the benefit of that is it just gives them a picture in their mind. They can connect to the rule. So no matter what they're reading, even if it's not part of the lesson, if they're struggling with a word, instead of just telling them what the word is, you can help them decode it by saying, hey, you know this rule. It's an open syllable. What is that chunk going to say? And so I love that, how it works for kind of hitting those all types of learners. Something else that is wonderful is that it is really designed to be practically used for homeschoolers. So in this book, this is the parent-teacher book. It looks thick. Don't be scared. It's so easy to use. It is set up so there are 57 lessons in this level, but if you read the beginning introduction and how to teach this, it says very clearly that you are only to spend about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on what works for your child, each time that you do a lesson. So the goal isn't that you complete a full lesson in one sitting. It's that you do it consistently. You pick up wherever you left off from before and you work for that 15, 20 minutes, and then you close the book, and then the next day you just start wherever you left off. So that is wonderful because it prevents that horrible feeling of I'm not on day, 27 of 150 when I should be. No, you work through it at the pace of your child. So that is going to vary wildly for children. You will find that, a struggling reader may spend an entire week on one lesson or one concept, where a child who is coming naturally to can zip through a whole lesson in one sitting. So I love that it is adaptable to you and your child, and it doesn't have that pressure of falling behind. Because of the way the program is structured, it truly is an ideal program for any child learning to read, regardless if they are a struggling reader or have some dyslexic tendencies. This program is great for them because it has lots of opportunity to practice and review skills. On the other end of the spectrum, this is also an excellent program for children who are learning to read very easily. It's just something that's coming naturally to them. And I have used the program for both. One of my children it was hard for them, and we went pretty slowly through the program. The child that I just finished this level with right now, we flew through it. But it is so adaptable. So there's a misconception that, it's only good for children who are struggling readers. No, this worked great for my daughter and gave her a super solid foundation in just regular reading skills. It really helps her be confident, and how you can adapt that depending on where your child falls on that spectrum is that included with the program, there are cards for practicing words and sounds. There is a whole student activity book that we'll take a peek at, and it provides lots of opportunity to practice if your child needs it. If your child doesn't need it, you can easily skip pages from there or not do the review cards if they already know something. So I did that a lot with my daughter, and the program worked really well for us. The other thing worth noting is that this is an excellent program if you have an older child who is still learning to read. You can easily leave out some of the cutesy, colorful things that are included in the student book and just use the word lists and the practice pages. And so it can be great for struggling readers who are older because you can make it feel like it's not too babyish for them, which is a hard thing to find. I also love the fact that this is strictly a reading phonics program. There is zero writing. I think that is so important, especially with new readers, because the rate in which children learn to read and the rate in which they learn to write is often very different. So one doesn't depend on another in this program. So that's really nice that, if your child isn't writing really well, they can still progress with their reading skills. The other bonus of that is that you can use this for multiple children. Once you invest in this program, as long as you keep the tiles or the little pieces of activities that you cut out, if you keep those, you can use this program for every one of your children without having to buy anything over again. So that is a rare thing that's definitely worth taking advantage of. Last, I love the fact that it's so open and go. So before a lesson, I will take a minute and I will read the little bit that they have here for the parent. It takes me about 2 to 3 minutes. It's just a good little bit of information. I skim it to see what it is that we're learning that day. And then I'll take a peek at the activity book. If it's one we're going to do, the pages are all perforated so I can pull that out and cut something up. Often with my last child, we didn't do the pages in the activity book, so I didn't even pull those out other than to read some of the words on. So it really is a nice and open and go program. To show you how a typical lesson looks and how it works, I'm going to show you inside all the elements of it. So first of all, you have the teacher's guide, and as I mentioned before, it starts off with a little introduction for the parent to what you're going to be teaching that day. And then you typically start the lesson off using the cards. So there are word cards that go along with each lesson, so you can review those, and I highly recommend getting the box and the little tabs. These are fantastic, and it has word cards to review, ones you've mastered, and then cards for future lessons. So it's really, really, really easy to keep it organized and have everything right ready to go. So you can review any word cards, any of the phonogram cards, and then they'll introduce in the lesson whatever the new sound or thing you're learning. So for example, in this one, they are learning the AR sound. So you'd pull that out, read through the lesson where it introduces it, and it takes you, of course, all the way through everything you're going to say, and then you work with that sound, building words with either the magnetic whiteboard and the letter tiles, or like we did, we use the app. So then, like I said, it walks you through that. You can label different syllables, practice things you've learned in the past, and that is the lesson portion. Remember, each lesson is not meant to be completed in one sitting. It is 15 to 20 minutes a day, or depending on what your child can handle. So how long you spend on a lesson completely depends on how quickly your child grasps the information. So once you've done your word cards and you've manipulated letters and built words, then they have this beautiful full color student activity book. All the pages in here are perforated, which is wonderful. So you can rip those out easily and cut things up if need be. And so they'll have, some type of activity. You can see we did not do this one. We typically, with my daughter, did not do these, not because they're not good. We just didn't need the extra review with this child. So we wouldn't do the activity for the most part, but we always used the book and used it for the practice sheets. And these are excellent because, like I said, if you're using it with an older child, they're not babyish. And if you're using it with a really clever child, I love these sheets because I found when you're just reading words within a story, often a clever child will anticipate what the word is, even if they can't decode it. So it prevents that, because when you read a list of words, and you can do as many or as few as you feel necessary, it prevents that guessing because of the context. So they have words that practice, in this case, the AR sound. And then I also like, they have these kind of building sentences. So you read, one portion, my cat Scar likes to drink, my cat Scar likes to drink warm milk. It really promotes good fluency, reading it clearly, reading it fluently, and maybe you don't need to do all three parts of it, but for children who tend to be very choppy in their reading, I really like that they help them practice, okay, now read it again, read it really smoothly with the proper inflection and expression. So this is the activity book. We really like this, and as you could see, that could be a lot, for one lesson, so you can break it up. So for the level 2 program, there are 2 readers that have multiple stories in them. So like I said, you have a lesson where you learn a sound or a rule, and then the next lesson is a story. And there's also a page in the activity book that's kind of your warm-up page for the story. So that's really nice. If there's any tricky words, it helps, promote that fluency. And the stories are really nice. They're fully color, and they're not babyish, which I like, especially if you have a little boy. They can be, a little sensitive to that. So this is the first story in the first book, just to give you an idea of the type of level. And then this is the story, towards the end of the first book. And the stories definitely get longer. A story in the middle of the second book, and then the very last story in the last book, Queen Bee, is that. And like I said, the stories always connect and have them practicing the skills that they learned in the previous lesson. Even if your child hasn't done level 1 of All About Reading, it is definitely possible to jump into level 2 without doing it if they know the right things. So this level is assuming that your child is very confident reading short vowel words. And what I mean confident is that it's not k, a, t, t. If that's where they're at, that's okay, but this isn't the level for them. They should be able to confidently and easily decode those short vowel words with 3 letters, the CVC consonant vowel consonant words, and then also words with short vowels and some common initial blends like TH, CH, things like that. So it's assuming that your child has a good foundation in that, and it fairly quickly moves on to teaching long vowels. So, it talks about silent E and the many things that silent E does. It talks about vowel teams. So, when you have two vowels, which sound do they make and things like that. So that's kind of the level it's starting at. And it works through, plurals, contractions. It talks about, the bossy R, ER, AR, IR, those types of things. And they talk about past tense and ED and things like that. So it's very comprehensive. We did it in second grade. These are not necessarily connected to grades. It is level 2, but it's more important to go online, hit the link below, and they have a placement test, or the staff is great. You can call All About Reading and tell them where your child is, and they'll make sure that this is the right book for you. So I think that is wonderful, all the skills and how they build on each other. As you can see, I love this program. If you have any hesitation about your ability to teach your child to read, get All About Reading. It will make you an expert instructor and just give you the confidence and skills that you just wouldn't have otherwise. So I highly recommend the program. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Bye-bye.